we have to talk about one Jasmine Crockett, because she announced today that she's running for the Senate. She wants to run against him to be the Democratic nominee to challenge John Cornyn in November of 2026. And here's the campaign ad she launched in order to announce it.
This new one they have, their new star, Crockett. How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
This is like a caricature of everything that has failed with the Democratic Party over the last 10 years. It is an ad in which the candidate who is asking the people of Texas to send her to the Senate does not speak a single word, either in voice or in text. She says nothing about her views. She offers nothing to them about what she intends to do to improve their lives. She doesn't take a position on any issue of the day: foreign policy, domestic policy, the culture wars. She's literally mute. She's utterly silent. Like, I have nothing to say. And the star of the ad is Donald Trump. Only he speaks. And he speaks in a way that's, mocking her, but also saying we love for Jasmine. He wants to promote Jasmine Crockett as the future of the Democratic Party. This is her ad introducing herself to the voters of Texas outside her district as to why she should become the Senate. Basically, the only message that it conveys is Donald Trump hates me. And I'm going to, I guess, like, through body language, sort of like poser, defiant resistance energy that Democratic Party base idiots love. Like that. She's like, my arms are crossed, like looking in the camera, like, let's go, Donald Trump. And one of the reasons why Jasmine Crockett has become so popular among Democratic Party voters, they love her, she's a social media sensation, is because she speaks in a very unhinged, uncontrolled manner about all the things she hates about Donald Trump. She is good on television. She isn't boring. She, draws attention to herself. Mainly what she does, though, is she just insults Donald Trump. And obviously Donald Trump used insults like that to draw attention to his campaign in 2016. But the only reason it worked is because it was accompanied by a very detailed, clear, constantly repeated ideological framework on immigration, on war, on the economy, on trade, over and over and over, stated again. So when he was insulting Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or pretty much anybody, John McCain, it wasn't just that he was insulting them. He had drawn very clear ideological differences with them on the issues people most care about. But what the Democratic Party base seems to think is, and this is what they really think. You look on Blue Sky where the hardcore partisans are, but they don't think they're the partisans. They think they're the left-wing critics of the Democratic Party, but it's all just anger at the Democratic Party for not winning elections more. I'm baffled by this, because what they believe is so obviously the exact opposite of the truth. They believe the problem with the Democratic Party is that it has not stood up enough to Trump. It has not called Trump enough names, not called him a racist enough, not called him a fascist enough. The media hasn't called him a racist enough. They hate the media because they haven't called him a fascist enough. They believe they're losing elections because Democratic Party candidates, Democratic Party leaders, and their allies in the media don't insult Trump enough. And did these people live through the same last 9 years as I did, as we all did? The Democratic Party hasn't stood for anything in the last decade other than we hate Trump. We're not Trump. Trump's a fascist. Trump loves Hitler. Trump's this and a that. He's controlled by Russia. He's correct. I mean, this is all the Democratic Party politics, all Democratic Party politics has been. And it's gotten them basically nowhere. And they seem to think that what they need is just somebody who's going to talk tough about Trump and the Republicans. And Jasmine Crockett does that. She kind of adopts a fake accent that white progressives love. It's like a very black, recognizable accent that she had never previously used before, but now uses pretty much in every interview. And white progressives love that. Like, oh, she's so sassy. It's like a very cheap form of identity politics. And the issue, though, is she doesn't, like, a lot of people make fun of Jasmine Crockett on the right. She's a big, target for Fox News, for conservative media, obviously Trump. But it's never because she's out there explicitly defending ideology or policy. Like, what is the cause with which Jasmine Crockett is most associated? Besides using curse words and having no limits when insulting Donald Trump and Republicans, like, well, what is her cause? Say what you want about AOC, and I certainly have a lot to say about AOC, most of it negative, but at least AOC or like Bernie or Jean Mondani, they are associated with causes. Healthcare, Bernie wants like healthcare and Medicare for all. And so does AOC, and Zoran ran on affordability and all these issues, free buses. Like, these are substantive ideas. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to like them. I'm just saying they have ideas that they associate them. What are Jasmine Crockett's? She doesn't have any. She's just like a cable news clown. She's a good clown, definitely a very good clown. I understand why cable news puts her on. She's funny in like a way that she just speaks in a way that politicians don't normally speak, and that can be more entertaining than listening to politicians who speak the way they all have always spoken. That was one of Trump's media benefits as well. She's just an empty vessel. And I believe more than anything, and I said it at the time, and I've said it many times since, independent of Jasmine Crockett, I believe the main reason Kamala Harris lost is because no one had any idea what she believed. She was incapable of articulating a concrete, clear position in a declarative sentence about any major issue. And we went on and we showed you so much of that. We'll show you a little bit of it, but that was our main critique of the Kamala Harris presidency. It's like, for so long, she launched her campaign. She didn't have an issues page. And then when she finally got one, it was like so vague. No, she had no confidence in herself. The Democratic Party stands for nothing. They stand for nothing. And you can't win like that. And to the extent we know anything about Jasmine Crockett's belief system, like the things she says she supports and believes in and the way she votes, it's the worst of the Democratic Party. It's not left wing. I know a lot of people, if you watch Fox News, if your understanding of Jasmine Crockett comes from right-wing media, you're like, yo, she's far to the left. She's not. She's not like a left-wing populist. She's not a radical at all. She is a very conventional corporatist militarist Democrat. And it's amazing that Democrats continue to think that this is the sort of thing that will win them elections, but they do. It's like it satisfies them. Like the people who are political junkies are always online like, yeah, she insulted Trump. We feel so good. That is not what most people care about. Here is Jasmine Crockett in her launch speech, giving you a sense of just how vapid she is.
Done with politics as usual. I'm done with going along to get along, and it gets us nowhere. I'm done watching rural hospitals and public schools close their doors. I'm done watching parents be afraid to send their kids to school or the mall or the movies because Republicans have flooded our streets with guns. I'm done with the senators sitting around doing nothing while Trump takes your hard-earned money, skims your Social Security, slashes Medicare, and gives tax breaks to billionaires. I'm done. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas.
she's done. She is done. She's had it. She's taken off the gloves. She's getting in the ring. There was like this laundry list of cursory grocery list items that if you're a Democratic Party candidate, you're going to talk about, like protecting Social Security or healthcare, but nothing at all substantive, nothing that she can show that she's ever done, that she's advocated for. It's just like written by the standard Democratic Party consultant. Every Democratic candidate who launches a campaign says those kinds of things. Now, let's talk about the things that she has actually in the past advocated. Here she is in a tweet in October of 2023. October 13th is the week after the October 7th attack. And she was criticizing Mike Johnson and the Republicans, the House Republicans, for not passing bills quickly enough. And she put up this tweet on X that was called the Legislative Lowdown. And it says, while House GOP spent all week not picking a speaker, that was when they had that, when Matt Gaetz and Matt Gaetz in particular had ousted Kevin McCarthy, they were trying to find their speaker. While House GOP spent all week not picking a speaker, House Democrats were filing legislation to help working families. I'm co-sponsoring. She listed a bunch of things, normal Democratic policies for workers or healthcare, whatever. They know I had no chance of passing. They're in the minority. But one of them was House Resolution 771, standing with Israel amid the barbaric war launched by Hamas. Let me just remind you that the Democratic Party, or at least the liberal wing of it, the left liberal wing, every left liberal media show I know, independent media show, podcast show, every single one has spent 2 years calling what Israel was doing in Gaza a genocide. Not just critical of it, a genocide. That is a word that carries a very heavy responsibility. It's basically the worst atrocity, the worst crime against humanity a country can commit. And here you have Jasmine Crockett, who was a supporter of U.S. support for Israel from the start and still is. And by their reasoning, she supported a genocide. How is that not disqualifying? The answer is because they don't care about the substance of anyone's views. Do I believe that a lot of these people who are saying this is a genocide believe it? I believe it. But do I think that a lot of the Democratic partisans who said it believed it? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both supported it, both financed it, both armed it, both continued to promise to support it. If you actually believe that there's a genocide, again, think about it, a genocide, not a bad war, not a genocide. And you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are the ones who paid for it and financed it and armed it and protected it like they did. How can you reconcile calling it a genocide with then voting for them? These two things don't reconcile for me. Are privacy concerns keeping you up at night? They probably should be. After all, Sam Altman recently announced that ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations. Do you feel comfortable knowing that an AI platform chaired by a former intelligence official has access to all your thoughts and dreams? Luckily, there is a promising alternative, which is Venice AI. Venice AI lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. They utilize leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation directly to your web browser. That's where it's saved. The interface looks stunning. There's no downloads, no installation, and your conversation history is stored only in the browser, your browser, keeping your privacy intact. With Venice AI, you can ask it to explore stimulating hypotheticals about future events, generate images without restrictions, upload PDFs for summaries, and even modify how Venice interacts with you. And with their Pro plan, you can do all of this without any limitations. I've been using Venice AI, and it's been a game changer. I ask it anything without worrying about my data being stored. It's versatile. It allows me to switch between different models and generate unique images. If you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, venice.ai/Glenn. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Click the link in the description and use the code Glenn to get started today. Just 2 weeks ago, Hakeem Jeffries, who is the senior Democrat in the House Republican caucus, who's currently the House Minority Leader, a young city council member in New York, who's a member of DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, that really spawned Zoran Mandani's candidacy, said he wanted to launch a primary challenge against Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is definitely vulnerable to a primary challenge. And the reason is because Hakeem Jeffries is arguably the single most important weapon AIPAC has in the Democratic Party, in the House Democratic Party. Complete fanatical loyalist to AIPAC and to Israel. And yet AOC and Zoran Mandani both said they oppose any primary challenge to Hakeem Jeffries. And when Zoran Mandani went on Meet the Press, they asked him, do you want Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House? And Zoran Mandani unflinchingly said yes. But according to their internal logic, this is somebody who worked very hard the last 2 years to fund, arm, and enable and defend a genocide. And this is the kind of thing if you're going to go around saying things like that, this is a genocide, this is a genocide, this is a genocide, and then your actions don't remotely reflect the fact that you really believe that, don't wonder why people start doubting your credibility. But the reason is because they don't care about policy or substance. They just think getting Trump out of office is the only thing that matters. And that has been the Democratic Party's posture for 10 years, and it has served them very poorly. And it seems like they're just doubling down. Here's Jasmine Crockett before October 7th in April of 2023. And she said the following on X, quote, as the sun sets on the 5th day of the month of Iyar, Yom Hatzamal, or Israel Independence Day, comes to a close on the 75th birthday of Israel. Let's continue to dedicate ourselves to peace and prosperity. Here's to the next 75 years of Israel. Now, Michael Tracy, you may recall who he is. He was somebody who made a lot of appearances on System Update, and hopefully he will continue to into the next year. I think one of the things he does best is interview politicians about things they're not really prepared to talk about or ask about. He goes to places like the vice presidential debate between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, where they're only supposed to be there to be surrogates and say how they obviously thought of their Democrats. Tim Walz won, but he doesn't use the opportunity to let them read their script. He goes there instead and, as a journalist, asks questions. And he went and found Jasmine Crockett and began asking her questions about her views on Israel. And I just want you to listen to this and see whether there's any substance at all to this person.
I mean, everybody has their reasons for why they do stuff, but I will also tell you this, because the issue today has to do with the fact that Iran ended up firing missiles over into Israel.
After Israel invaded Lebanon.
Okay, but is Iran Lebanon, or is Iran...
No.
Okay, so
but this thing, it's a spiraling catastrophe that the Biden administration has done nothing to rein in.
Let's be clear. When the attacks, which I will say, everything that happened in Lebanon, or the initial attacks, at least that was more calculated, and it was more, it was specifically intended for who? For terrorists, correct? I mean, these are...
You got to clarify what you're saying. I don't follow.
Hezbollah. Right. So Israel was attacking Hezbollah, correct?
Well, they've done a ground invasion into Lebanon now.
They have now done one, but to be clear, they were attacking Hezbollah, who is a terrorist organization, correct?
Right, but they've invaded the entire country. They bombed Beirut.
I just need you to be clear.
They've bombed the country.
Okay, so
you think everybody who's been killed in the Israeli bombardments has been Hezbollah?
I didn't say that. I'm telling you that what I am saying is that at least when Lebanon, we talked about what? They had the pagers, correct?
Right.
And so they were literally more calculated in trying not to do...
Those pagers blew up in grocery stores, and a little girl was killed.
I understand, and I'm not disagreeing with that, and I want to be clear. No one should ever be okay with war.
Well, you voted to fund it.
No, I did not vote to fund war. What I voted for...
Yes, you did. You voted to supply Israel with armaments that they're using in their prosecution of the war.
Do you understand that we took more than one vote? Let me ask you, since you know about...
I know all about it. I follow it very closely.
So tell me about the rest of my votes.
On the National Security Supplemental?
Can you tell me about all the votes that we had? Because we had...
Yeah, you voted for Ukraine, for the Indo-Pacific, for...
Because we had 3 votes on Israel.
There have been like 1 million votes on Israel.
We had 3 votes. Let me clarify. We had 3 votes as it relates to funding for Israel. So let me make sure that your record is very clear. The very first vote was to fund Israel and defund the IRS because that's what the Republicans put on the floor. That because the Republicans run the House. Okay. What was my vote? It was a no.
No.
Then
we ultimately voted yes on the bill to fund Israel.
The second vote was to fund Israel and no other funding. Okay? The third vote, was it just for funding Israel or was it also to get money to the people of Gaza?
Which and that aid has been consistently blocked. I mean, you can complain about Netanyahu, but he's the one administering the funding that you've said.
Is Michael Tracy a little bit obnoxious? Yes, he is a little bit obnoxious in the best possible way that a journalist should be. He was pressing her. She has no idea what she's talking about. But at the end of the day, this is not October 23rd. This is in the middle of the campaign in 2024, late 2024, a year into the Israeli destruction of Gaza. And she's still defending Israel. She's defending Israel in its bombing of Lebanon. She's defending Israel in its bombing of Iran. She's defending Israel in its destruction of Gaza. And she voted to pay for it. So if you're somebody who believes and has made your primary cause in terms of or one of them in terms of your media commentary, your political activism, your organizing, that the U.S. should stop financing and arming Israel and stop entering wars on its behalf, that you believe that what happened in Israel is a genocide, how is Jasmine Crockett qualified for your support? Why would you be excited about somebody who did all that? How many people do you think even know she did that? They know that she goes on. This is what they know. They know, and I don't mean they just political casuals. I mean political junkies who are Democratic partisans, but also political media figures. They know that she goes on cable shows and speaks much more aggressively about Trump than most members of Congress, and they know she's a black woman. So they assume she's some sort of progressive, she's from the left wing or the left flank of the Democratic Party. She's not. She's not. She's a corporatist. She gets money from PACs for the crypto industry. She serves the national security state. She defends the CIA. This is the worst of the Democratic Party. And if it actually mattered in terms of who a candidate was in terms of their ideology, people would focus on that. But all they care about is this idiotic anti-Trump stylistic posturing. And since she's good at that, they love her. It's the most primitive, empty-headed, simple-minded way of looking at politics, and it's self-destructive. Here's another Jasmine Crockett clip where she was asked about sending money to Israel and financing Israel.
What do you think about America being tired of us sending money to Israel?
I understand. I also think that if people are going to vote as it relates to foreign affairs, which typically is not how people vote. People typically vote based on how are the gas prices treating me right now? How are my housing costs treating me right now? What's my job situation looking like? Those are the things that typically drive our elections and how people decide how they're going to vote. When you start talking about foreign affairs, if that is going to be kind of the precipice for determining whether you vote or who you vote for, then I want people to really dig in to foreign affairs, right? And ask the question, which I think is a fair question. I think it's a fair question of all the money, is to ask the question of, well, why do we send money to Israel? What is that about? And learn about the fact that this is an allyship that existed before I was around, the president was a baby. He was still around though. But it is an enduring relationship and learning the history of the region in and of itself. And I would argue that the most disputed land in the world is that land. And it goes beyond the Palestinians and the Israelis, but I mean, you can go back to the Romans. You can go back to all the wars and fights that have existed in this land, and trying to explain to people that are really frustrated and absolutely have every right to be, because I think anybody that's okay with war may be a little off in some way, because war is never pretty, and there are always innocent lives that are lost, whether it's, you know, at the numbers that we've seen in Gaza or not. Like, I take issue with loss of innocent lives, no matter where they are, including in this country, right? And I do think that we have failed to open a real conversation on what does foreign affairs look like, and how much money do we really spend on foreign affairs, because what happens is we do things like, oh, we're sending X amount of billions here, we're sending X amount of billions there. And one of the things that I try to do is contextualize for people. And I tell them, and I ask them, do you know how big our budget is? Nobody knows how big our budget is. And so I tell them, when it comes to foreign aid, we spend 1% of our entire budget on foreign aid. But when you start talking about numbers that people don't have in their own bank accounts, like, I can't count to $1 trillion, which we have a multi-trillion-dollar budget, right? Like, when you start talking about millions or billions, they're just like, that's a lot of money, because that's more money than I have. But my question that I really want people to ask is, what you doing with that other 99%?
So this is all defending financing wars in Israel and Ukraine. Like, hey, just relax. It's like 1% of the budget. It's so misleading. There's so much more that we spend to protect or defend these foreign wars. We deploy our troops there. We do all kinds of deals there. We give aid to all the countries around Israel, like Egypt and Jordan. But who cares? Whatever it is. Why should we be financing Israel? And she's supposed to be... you see who she is? Like, there's nothing interesting about her. She's a total, like, blob of a centrist, but doesn't even understand centrism. She's controlled by PACs and by special interests and by, like, the establishment wing of the Democratic Party, the absolute worst part of the Democratic Party. Needless to say, she's also massively in favor of financing the war in Ukraine. Here she is in December of 2022. Quote, with passage of yesterday's spending bill, we avoided a shutdown and the government will stay open through 2023. Dems again lead while MAGA Republicans lie. Ukraine has additional aid to beat back Russia. Why? Because a threat to democracy anywhere is a threat to democracy everywhere. Like, that is like a 8th grade understanding, not even an 8-year-old understanding of foreign policy. Why do we fight in Ukraine? Why do we give them the money? Because they're a threat to democracy. There's a threat everywhere. It's like imbecilic. And she's supposed to represent what, like marginalized people, or she's talking about how she's going to win with people of color. You think these people want billions and billions and billions of dollars poured into foreign wars in Ukraine and Israel that have nothing to do with their lives? Yet that's exactly who she is. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.